All right, guys, thanks for joining us on another episode of Close and Conquer. I have one of my favorite people in the entire world here, my man Dave Anderson. How you doing, Dave?
I'm outstanding. How are you doing, my friend?
I could not be any better. And Dave is the ultimate. So when we started talking about, we had a podcast, we called it Punch Me in the Face for a while, Dave, and I love that name, still love it. But as we're getting fine-tuned and trying to make changes in people's lives, I wanted something I could talk about in every episode and every conversation, and I was just hit and overcome with this whole close and conquer, right?
Yeah.
And Dave, you helped me. Well, you might not even know it. I listened to you speak about 14 years ago, and I was trying to close and conquer me. Me. I did realize before I could have success, I need to close and conquer me. And can you talk to the folks today? Because I think that's what I see in business, in athletics, in just life in general.
Yeah.
And nobody has delivered a better message on empowerment and accountability ever that I've heard outside of you. So, when you're talking about overcoming, closing yourself, conquering you before you will conquer. Hey, you can't conquer you. We were talking about it earlier. Teams.
That's right. That's right.
You were the byproduct. You were the leader. So
That's right.
Talk to all of us about what it looks like to be able to close yourself first, to go be successful and be accountable and be a successful businessman, businesswoman, athlete, leader, whatever it happens to be.
Yeah, you got to learn to work on your thinking. You've got to improve your thinking. Most people, they understand what you have to go through to work on a body. There's a process to follow. Certain stuff you do, certain stuff you don't do. About the time it gets uncomfortable is when it's getting good. You can't only do it on the days you feel like it. You have to do it regardless if you want a great body. The mind, most people aren't working on their mind. And I was sharing with your outstanding group out there today that I was talking to an athlete, all the talent in the world, highly regarded, immensely skilled, greatly talented. I said, you're 6 inches from greatness. The 6 inches right here between yours, because you can't get out of your own way. I said, you make excuses, you blame, you start committed, you don't stay committed, you don't have reasons within you that give you the option to only be committed, right, to where inconsistency's off the table. You focus on what you can't control. You don't know how to deal with the negative thoughts that come into your mind. I said, all this can be remedied with intentional effort and routines. And so it's getting your thinking right. It's developing the discipline to focus on what you can do, what you do have, what you can control, not to focus on what you don't, right? Just like that athlete. Half their game isn't working. So what am I going to do, mentally check out and wait for the next game? No, I got to give all I have to what I've got. And being able to bring that type of consistency day in and day out, budget time to get your thinking right. Starting in the morning, stacking those wins, reviewing that why, affirmations, inspirational, educational, whatever you do that gets you thinking the right way. Narrowing your associations, because some of the people, now when I say associations, it's people, but it's also stuff that we associate with. Computer websites, TV binging, video game addictions, and nothing is neutral in our life, Sean. So nothing you spend time with has a neutral impact on your life. If even in a small way it's moving you forward or it's holding you back because it takes your time, the time cannot be replaced, thus it's not a neutral cost. And you have to condition your thinking to look through that lens, to look that way, to focus on the controllables. It doesn't come naturally to people, so that's why it takes work. What comes natural is to blame. I never got the break. Things don't go my way. I just don't know the right people. I just haven't gotten my lucky chance yet. All right, that's what comes natural. It's not my fault. I didn't have the time. I did the best I could. Those are the lies we tell ourselves that comes natural. So if we're going to get control of ourselves and conquer ourselves first, we got to start with our mind, because how we think determines what we do. What we do determines who we become and what we get. It all starts with how we think, and you can change how you think.
Wow. Well, first of all, that's an amazing answer. And you said two things over a decade ago at a meeting I was at. You were talking about accountability, and you gave a number. And I thought it was like 155, some odd number, 1,000 people that die every day.
Yeah.
And remember, I'd never forget, and you said, you weren't one of those people.
That's right.
Like, you were given another day.
That's right.
And, you say that, but then you drove deep, really started, drove deep. And I also heard you say, if the biggest problem you got is financial, get down on your hands and knees and thank God.
That's right.
What a great day.
Oh, yeah.
Your biggest issue. And so when I hear from an accountability standpoint, I love what you're saying, right? From an accountability standpoint, and you're right, hey, go eat this, go work out this many times. It's okay, I'll do it. But here is where we get screwed up. Matter of fact, talk about athletes. A lot of professional athletes I talk to say, I said, how'd you have such a great career? The ones that had great careers. They said, I convinced myself I was better than I was. I was already good. I was very good. I knew I was one. But professional athletes, we believe we're even better than we are. Yeah. And the guys that we're competing with may be as talented, maybe a little bit more talented, but they didn't have it here. We got it here. So for people that are like, I love that, and I understand the associations, and I understand that, because what you're saying is normal, right? It's normal for us to complain. It's normal because most of us aren't raised in that mindset.
No.
Because the websites don't say it. The stuff we look at on YouTube doesn't say it.
That's right.
Our friends don't say it.
Right.
So when people start making that change, it's uncomfortable.
It is.
What is as they start making that change, specific to people, because the people is where I see a lot of want-to-be entrepreneurs, want-to-be businessmen and businesswomen. And when I say want-to-be, meaning they're not really doing it, but they want to.
Right.
And people pull against them. How do you help them navigate that?
Yeah, it's so interesting. Charles Tremendous Jones wrote a book years ago, classic, one of the first motivational books I ever read, called Life is Tremendous. And he said, the books you read and the people you associate with will determine where you're at, like within 5 years. And a lot of people underestimate the influence. First of all, is recognizing the impact they do have on you. Are they speaking life into you, or are they speaking death into you? Okay, is this someone who sees the best in you and makes you feel better about yourself? They draw it out. They're not easy on you. They see something in there, and they're going to work to draw it out. Or are they finding fault within you like there's a reward for it? Do they find fault in you to make them feel better about their life, right? And so is this person speaking life or speaking death into my life? And then Jim Rohn said something really outstanding. He said, here's a great way to evaluate. Think about the people you're spending most of your time with. What have they got you reading? What have they got you watching? What have they got you thinking? What have they got you saying? How have they got you acting? And is that okay? Is it okay? Is it moving you towards your goals or making it harder? So I always say there's some people you have to give up to go up. Now, I don't mean you have to make a big announcement.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't mean you have to make it, okay, no more you for me. Okay, I'm done. Don't bother. You just consciously choose to spend your time somewhere else. You just get so busy with productive stuff, you don't have time for the unproductive things, because some of those people, you've outgrown them. And you'd like to think maybe your example would inspire them to step up. But people don't keep up with the Joneses anymore. It's cheaper to talk you out of it, right? So why are you working so hard? You used to be fun. You used to hang around with us. Those are the things you start to hear. It's like, well, you know what? I decided to trade off some amusement and some trivial pursuits for fulfillment and impact. And since I only have so much time, this is where I'm going to spend my time now. And this is what I'm going to spend it doing. Would love for you to do it with me, but I'm going to do it without you if I have to. And basically, you have to have some of those conversations. And sometimes you don't have to say anything at all. Just stop checking in on some of these people. Usually these people that add a negative value to our life, we're doing all the work anyway. We're always the ones having to check in on them. Are you okay? Texting them. And so, just stop texting for about a week and see how many dead plants you've been watering.
Amen. Well, it's funny. We were just talking about this earlier. It's funny. I said speaking death into people, right? Because they're doing one of the two.
Yeah.
And, for a lot of the folks that are watching, a lot of the questions I get, a lot of them are business related. A lot of the people are, they're working through believing in themselves.
Yes.
They're working through redefining the nature of their associations. Right.
That's
kind of like that. I was watching that movie the other day. I was in a flight, Tombstone.
Yeah.
And Doc Holliday's there, and she's like, I've been good to you, Doc. He's like, yeah, you also might be the coming of Christ. Like, he said, we have to redefine the nature of our association. And she's like, she's not having it. Like, she still wants to party.
Yep.
He's sick. He can't smoke, drink. But she's like, I'm in. And he ended up dying.
Yeah, there you go.
He didn't live longer.
There you go.
But for a lot of the people, you've had an unbelievable business career. You've spoken life into people all over the world. You've built a business that is taking care of your family. So you've also, like Dave, if you don't know, Dave's a sales guy.
Yeah.
Dave made a living as an independent guy.
Oh, yeah.
Eat what you kill, and you live that way.
That's it.
For a lot of our folks, they're trying to do that too.
Right.
They're independent. What is from a business standpoint for a lot of our folks that are looking to go make money on their own efforts? I've had my job for a long time. I've had W-2, but now I'm out on my own. What are some things you see successful entrepreneurs do that you'd advise our folks to do?
First of all, you got to realize it's not that hard to get ahead today.
Yeah.
All right. I think that should encourage people, but you are going to have to put in the work. And so I learned, one of my mentors, Jim Rohn, said years ago, work as hard on yourself as you do on your job. He said, don't wish your job were easier, wish you were better. And he really talked about the miracle of personal development. And so the only way you're going to believe in yourself is if you build genuine self-esteem and self-confidence. And you have to put in the work for that. Self-esteem is how you feel about yourself. Self-confidence, how you feel about your abilities. Two different things. Some people have one without the other. But as you start to get intentional, which means on purpose, about, okay, what are the tasks that are most essential that I excel at in this business to be successful? Not the 40, what are the 4? Okay, narrow your focus. What are those handful of things to where if I could only do 4 things every day, and if you don't know, ask someone who's done it. They can tell you. If I could only do 4 things every day that were most predictive of getting me the result I need, what would they be? Okay, now it's this, and this. You get great at that stuff. Okay, this is where you go to work on you. You develop the routines that support that, the knowledge that supports it. You upgrade the skill to where you can do it well. If it's making calls, you got to get great at making calls. Okay, and what I've learned in the martial arts, what I learned working with athletes, you don't practice until you get it right. You practice until you can't get it wrong. Until it's so automatic, you say it with so little tension, it comes off so naturally that you're not even having to think about it because you said it so many times. People say, well, I get bored with the basics because people get away from the basics. That's why they get away from them, and they get complacent. So the basics are never boring unless you're boring. The only time the basics are boring is if you stop trying to do them better. Do basics better. Excel at basics. Do more of them. Do them better. Do them more often. And get great at those things. And so first you got to identify what they are. You've got to have growth objectives. I need to become exceptional at this, and this. Then go get the mentor, get the book, get the course, and work on that stuff every day. You need the reps. You need the reps. It's not about, I just want to make 10 quality calls. You don't get the quality till you do the quantity. You need the muscle memory. You need it to become automatic. Okay, you do a lot of quality calls, and then you do a lot of quantity calls, and that will lead to the quality call. You got to have the practice, the repetition. There's no shortcut around it. That's right. You got to be intentional. Work on you. Believe in yourself. Invest in yourself. I mean, test your limits. Some people they have no idea how good they could get, how far they could go, because they stop when it gets hard, when it takes too long, or when they get too successful and too comfortable, or it gets too inconvenient. And so if you know you're putting in the work, and you know you're earning the right to stay after it, you'll stick with it longer.
I was in your office a while back, and I was like, we're talking about everything under the sun. And I said to you, hey, you brought it up, actually, because you're really smart like that. You have this area in your office.
Yeah.
And, beautiful view, little setup. And as you brought it up, I kind of had to ask about it. And you said, I sit there and an hour a day, I think.
Yeah.
And I read and write, or go through what I want to talk about, thoughts, whole deal, what I want to write about, talks, everything I'm doing in my business. And unless there's something massive, everybody knows not to interrupt me.
That's right.
Something massive. And on that, and I remember thinking to myself, I don't do that. Like, I don't do that.
Most people don't.
I know. And I left that day going, you know what? And I wrote in my book in the front, 1 hour a day, read, write, think about my business. Yeah. And I wrote the back of the book, same thing.
Nice.
And I've done it, and I've never felt better.
Oh.
Ever.
And you turn off all the screens.
Yes.
You get away from the screens. You get away from the phones. I call it going to the lab. I tell my team, I'm going to the lab, because that's where I get creative.
Yeah.
That's where I get re-energized. And whether it's a podcast idea or a new marketing strategy or whatever, you got to work on your business, not just work in it. And so, we gotta make that time to think.
Yeah.
People don't make time to think.
And you know what I found, to your point, is my phone, I was on it all day long every day. Okay? Running a business, running multiple businesses, doing all kinds of stuff. That's great. Awesome. But what I found was, wait a minute, my phone started ringing less because I started initiating less contact.
That's right.
Right? And I was like, okay, wait a minute. And then I realized I started learning the power of delegation off of that. And I want you to talk, because I started realizing I've always amazing people around here. Hell, when I pitched, I didn't try to play shortstop and catch and play center. I pitched.
Yeah.
When if I was playing fullback, I wasn't trying to play quarterback.
That's right.
I just blocked what I was supposed to block. I didn't try to play offensive guard. Like, I did my job, right? And I watched my coaches do it. Offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and special teams.
Sure you did.
Talk to us about the art of delegate, the power of delegation. I've seen you do it with your folks. Like, that office runs.
Yes.
You're doing your deal or not, it runs.
That's right.
Talk to us. I think a lot of people, as they get going and start making money, they have a struggle with the delegating part. They either try to do it all, whatever it is, try to do none of it. But how do we effectively get people to understand how to delegate?
Oh, yeah. And usually we wait till we stop growing before we realize I'm going to have to start giving some stuff up so I can go up, right? And I was a terrible delegator early on because I thought if I want it done right, I've got to do it myself. It's just easier to do it myself.
Yeah.
And I started to get so overwhelmed. I realized also my people weren't growing. I was having to make the same decisions for them, do the same tasks that they should have been equipped to do. And so I had a hard time letting go. I think that insecurity is one thing you have to get over. But you're cheating your people and you're cheating yourself because you need to be spending, you got to get this concept right, greater amounts of time on the smaller number of tasks that only you can do. You know, and that
greater
you need to
amounts of time and the
smaller number of tasks
only you can do.
That only you can do and that you must do really well. Okay, and then if you're spread too thin, you don't have time to do that. You're not doing the big picture stuff. You're doing damage control. You're coming from behind. You're plugging holes. But then also, we cheat them out of a chance to grow, to get uncomfortable, to develop their skills, to become more valuable. So you got to see the big picture, what it means for you and them. You get good at delegating. Now, you got to be clear. The reason it works in my office, people are very clear about what I expect.
Yeah.
You have to have clarity. They have to have a clear picture of what success looks like, okay? Now, I don't micromanage it. I don't say, Sean, here's what I want you to do. Here's the 25 steps to do it, because then that still belongs to me.
Amen.
So I'll have you do it with me a few times first, and then I'll say, if you find a better way to do it that doesn't violate our values and gets it done, go for it. Use your creativity. You know, I get your hands for free. I'm paying for your hands. I get your brain for free. I want to use your brain. All right? And so it's having a process and then understanding that you can delegate, but ultimately you're still responsible for it getting done. So knowing you need to check in from time to time, not to micromanage, but to get updates and aware, to provide resources. There's an art to delegation. But first of all, it's understanding why it's important and what happens when you don't. You stop growing and so do your people. You just get overwhelmed. But the benefits, I was forced to do it because I started traveling. When we started my company, I didn't have any choice. They can't check with me. Like right now, if they needed me to make a decision. And so I trained them harder, got more clear, supported them more, and they make mistakes just like we still do when we make decisions.
Amen.
But I don't use it as a battering ram, all right? We use it as a teaching tool. Let's do it better next time. I don't mind new stupid things. Don't do the same stupid ones.
That's right.
New stupid things means you're growing, you're trying.
Amen. No doubt about it. Embracing it's not failure unless you quit.
That's
like
it.
you made a mistake. Like
That's right.
Life is good, but you tried something.
Yeah,
That
you
was
did
our
try
deal.
something.
Move fast and break things.
Yeah.
And we'll start to figure it out, man.
That's it.
So I wanted you to share with everybody because it's one of my coolest personal stories. A lot of people I talk to, they're terrified of a lot of things.
Yeah.
You don't seem to be afraid of anything. I say I'm not afraid. I'm afraid of God, which I am, and I'm petrified. I'm like, I know every day of decisions I make, I'll be accountable for. And you and I were talking a while back, and we were talking about snakes. I don't even know why we brought it up.
Yeah.
And you had a rattlesnake in your house.
I know where you're going with this.
Please tell them. We're going to end on this. Tell them that story.
Okay, the bottom line is my wife didn't listen, okay? Here's the deal. We have this house with a courtyard. We live in the Santa Monica Mountains in Southern California. There are rattlesnakes.
Yeah.
She loves the fresh air coming in. She leaves the courtyard door open. I said, honey, one day something's going to come in through that door. No, nothing's going to come in through that door. I went on and on. I lost the battle. The door stayed open.
Okay.
I get a call at night. My friend pouring out his heart to me. Didn't want to interrupt him. I said, honey, I'm going to go in the back room and take this call. It was a dear friend. I'm starting to walk down the hallway, and the light is off, but I see the silhouette of a snake. I said, that cannot be. I thought, wait, the door's open. It actually could be. It could be a snake. I turn on the light, and there is a snake. We have these stone floors, like just sprawled out on my
Rattlesnake.
Rattlesnake.
In your house.
In the house.
You're on the phone.
We got dogs. I'm on the phone. I don't want to cut my buddy up. And I'm a martial artist. My specialty is knives. So I always have two knives on me, except when I travel. And so I'm talking to my buddy, to Mo, and I just put my head on the snake, and to where it can't move, you heal. And I just cut his head off with the other hand. And then I keep walking back to the room. I kind of motion for her. There's a mess here. But of course, the snake is still wriggling. When you cut its head off, it's still moving. It's still moving.
Yeah.
And so he didn't belong in my house. I didn't want to just go kill the snake. I didn't go looking for trouble.
No.
But I got two dogs and the whole bit. And so, I never missed a beat, but I didn't want to interrupt my friend. I killed the snake. My wife learned a lesson. We had like 3 or 4 wins to come out of that. And it's a great story. There's
It's an outstanding story. I share it all the time. That's a guy right there. He's multitasking, important phone call, kills a snake, shows his wife that she shouldn't let the door open. Everybody wins. So, Dave, listen, if you guys, where do they find you, Dave? They want to find you, follow you, check you out, get some mentorship. Where do they find you?
Yeah, find me at our website, learntolead.com. Spell it out like it sounds, learntolead.com. All our social media links are there. We can connect from there. But go to our website. A lot of free resources there, too.
I cannot thank you enough, man.
My pleasure, brother.
My pleasure.
Thank
You're
you
a
for having me me back again, man.
Thank you for your mentorship. Thank you for your friendship. Appreciate it. Guys, if you like this, subscribe, share. If you like this, we'll give you a link to another podcast you're going to love. Dave Anderson, follow him, find him, learn to lead. The guy knows how to lead. We'll talk to you soon. Another episode of Close and Conquer.